Hello everyone and welcome to a really wild game from the Airthings Masters, Game 3 between Magnus Carlsen and Daniil Dubov. Magnus Carlsen won Game 1 with the white pieces, then Game 2, incredibly complicated, ended in a draw, but Dubov was really pushing for the win and he was winning for a bigger part of the game, but Magnus was able to grind out a draw out of that lost position. And now we are in Game 3, which is also incredibly interesting. So let's see what happened. Again, Magnus with the white pieces, but this time he doesn't go for e4, rather he opens with knight to f3, thinking that probably he already beat Dubov twice with e4 this tournament. He doesn't feel like he'll be able to do it again for the third time. So knight f3, we have the Reti opening, knight to f6, and now c4, transposing into the English, and sorry about that. We have e6 by black. And now comes knight to c3. c5, black also fighting for central squares, and now e3, preparing d4. We have a6, and here comes d4 by white. We have d5 by black, and now comes c captures on d5. So we've basically transposed into the queen's gambit declined. E captures on d5, and now g3, preparing to fianchetto this light square bishop. Knight to c6 by Dubov, and now bishop to g2. Magnus is now ready to castle, and here c4 by Dubov. The common move here is bishop to e7, just continuing development, but Dubov goes for c4, which puts a grip on white's position for the moment, but will later be, Magnus will be able to undermine it later on with moves like b3 and so on. So here, the only move ever played in this position is knight to e5, and it was played some 10 times in top tier games. But here we just have castles by white, and it is as of move 9 that we have a completely new game. So let's see what happens here. Dubov continues with bishop to b4, and now knight to e5, and this is a bit of a tricky situation. You cannot go for a trade here, even though it seems like you can double white's pawns. You're actually going to lose material here. So for example, if bishop captures on c3, b captures, and knight to e4, you run into this very unpleasant bishop to a3. Now black will not be able to castle, and you're going to suffer for the rest of the game. So you have to be careful not to do something like this. So here, Dubov also castles his king to safety, and now bishop to d2. So now the knight is additionally protected, and the bishop has been developed. Next, you're going to develop the queen, connect the rooks, and so on. So here, rook e8. Now there is a double attack on the knight, and here Magnus trades. Knight captures, b captures, and only now b3. As now the knight is defended, so b3 can be played, and you are now undermining black's pawn chain, and also you are trying to make use of this bishop here. So bishop captures with bishop captures, and now knight to e4, putting pressure on the bishop here. And you kind of don't want to trade this. You really like your light square bishop as an attacking and defensive piece, so you simply move it, move the bishop, or play rook to c1, which is what Magnus does, as he wants to put more pressure on the c file. So a5 by Dubov, and now comes b captures on c4. We have bishop to a6, first pinning this pawn as the rook is on f1. And now f3 by Magnus, kicking away that knight. Knight captures, rook captures, which also defends the e3 pawn, and only now bishop captures on c4. So Dubov grabs his pawn back, and it's a very nice position for both black and white. If I had to choose, I would say black is to be even more preferred here. White has a massive center, but his king is not all that safe, and Dubov makes great use of this. So first, Carlsen's rook is under attack. He plays rook to f2, gets his rook out of harm's way, and now he can shift the rook over to the queen side if needed. We have queen to g5 by Dubov, now with a double attack here on the e3 pawn, and Magnus defends it with queen to c1. So also now the pawn is defended twice, and now h5. So Dubov pretty much tied down Carlsen's pieces to the defense of the e3 pawn, and now he wants to play h5, h4, or bust open Carlsen's king side, and try to create some sort of an attack, maybe get a nice rook lift happening here, who knows. So here, bishop to f1, Magnus tries to get rid of this bishop here, and then, wreak havoc along the c file. So bishop captures on c1, king captures, and now, while you'd think maybe Dubov would try to figure out what to do with this c6 pawn, there really isn't anything you can do here, so just rook 8 to b8. He just brings another rook into the attack, and really, with every game, Dubov is turning more and more into Tal, so we'll see where this journey ends. So here Magnus goes for the pawn, there's nothing wrong with it, so he grabs it, rook captures on c6, and now comes h4. Dubov continues his attack, and now Magnus has to figure out what to do here. Here Magnus plays the kind of defensive king to g2 move. Maybe if he wanted to like maybe e4 was also an option, trying to go for a nice queen trade here, because Magnus is already leading in their match, so maybe such a move would not be a terrible idea. But I think what Magnus wanted to do was also win this one, as now he feels he's up a pawn, so maybe he can you know, finish the match right here without even going into game 4. So here Magnus goes king g2, and now Dubov grabs his pawn back, rook captures on e3, and now rook to c8 with check. We have rook captures, queen captures with check, king h7, and now queen to d7 going after this c6 pawn. So here Dubov defends it, and now Magnus could keep his queen in the center, or maybe even closer to the king side, but he just goes queen to b5. He says, I'm going after your queen side pawn, as it looks a bit scary, but if you know what you're doing, there's actually nothing going on the king side. So here Dubov goes queen to f5, and it comes with a very nice trick. He says, okay, if you capture my a5 pawn, which is what you want to do, I'm just going to play h3 with check, and after king g1, this will be game over. Queen b1 check, and now you can defend a few more moves. So for example, rook f1, queen c2, going after checkmate. You're going to block the queen, but now just rook e2, and that's over. There's nothing you can do here. Captures is going to be mate on the next move. So here, after this queen to f5 move, Magnus played g4 first, kicking the queen away. He's going to capture the pawn on the next move. And now Dubov plays h3 with check. And again, a very tricky check, because if the king captures, you no longer defend your f3 pawn twice. So you black can just capture it. And after captures and captures with check, it's just a very nice checkmate. g5 check, king h5, and queen to h3 with checkmate. So here, after this h3 check, we basically reach the position from the thumbnail. Magnus defends with king to g3, absolute best move, and now Dubov has to figure out what to do. His queen is under attack, so he moves it, queen to e4. The f pawn cannot move because of check here, and he just wants to grab the d4 pawn. So here Magnus should think about what to do, whether to go queen to d7, help out with the defense, or maybe even queen to f1 to help out with the defense here, maybe go after the h3 pawn. But Magnus rather played queen captures on a5, and this was again a poison pawn. This pawn was a no-go since Dubov offered it, and well, feel free to pause the video here and win the game for Dubov while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on beating world champion Magnus Carlsen, as there is only one move that wins this position. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's f5. And now you open up the king's position, because any move, for example a4, just runs into queen to g4 checkmate. Like we said, the f3 pawn cannot move due to this rook being on e3. So here Magnus has to play very, very carefully, but it will simply not help. He captures on f5, and now Dubov recaptures. Queen captures on f5, which defends the h3 pawn, and now prepares this maneuver rook e6 to g6, which will be deadly. So here Magnus has to bring the queen back into the game, queen to b5, and now Dubov, after some thinking about the position, goes rook to e6. Magnus has to make some room for his king. For example, if he tries something like f4, then just rook g6 check, king f3, and queen to e4 is checkmate. So not possible to do something like that. Magnus plays the absolute best defense. He offers a rook trade with rook to e2, but Dubov sticks to his plan. Rook to g6 check, and now Magnus goes king to f2. And now a lot of moves are winning here for black, but there is one move that ends the game on the spot. So once again, for the last time in this video, feel free to pause the video and win this game for Dubov in the quickest way possible. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on once again defeating the world champion. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's queen to f4. A lot of moves, like I said, were possible. Rook to g2 check is good. Queen to g5 is excellent, but queen to f4 just ends the game on the spot. because now there really is no defense. Whatever you do, there's queen to c1, there's queen captures on h2, there's rook to g2, so all of these threats you cannot parry them all. For example, if you try running away, let's say king e1, you just get queen to c1 with checkmate, king f2 and queen to g2 with check, and now queen to g1 will be checkmate. So here after queen to f4, Magnus tried queen to b1 to keep an eye on the back rank, but Dubov played again the absolute best, king to h6. And interestingly, queen to b1 pins the rook very nicely, but Dubov says my position is so good I can even waste a move unpinning. So he just plays king to h6 like a complete boss here, and now Magnus again without a good move, queen to d3, keeps an eye on the e3 square, tries to help out a little bit, but there simply are no squares. Dubov just plays queen captures on h2 with check, king e3, and now of course the absolute best rook to e6 check. And it was in this position on move 38 that Magnus Carlsen resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here, because once you move the king, or rather the only other legal move is giving up the queen right away with check. So if you move the king, this is just traded. Queen captures, rook captures, king captures, and now Dubov's pawn becomes a queen and it's game over. So really an impressive game. Out of nothing, Dubov creates something, rather a masterpiece. You don't just beat Magnus Carlsen with the black pieces, you know. Magnus played some very natural moves. He first grabbed those pawns on the c file, then he went for the a5 pawn, and those were all plausible ideas, but it was just never a good time to capture that a5 pawn, and in a rapid game everyone can make a mistake. So Dubov found the only way to take advantage of it, and he was able to take down Magnus, which means the match is now a tie and they have to play game 4 to see who wins the first match. So very interesting stuff. Once again, I do hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Andrew Martin, Michael Castano, Luis Souza, Paul Sampson, and Matev Granda for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, probably with the final game between the 2 of them, and we'll simply take it from there. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.